Washington, D.C. Center of the world's superpower. The Treasury, the Federal Reserve, and other central federal buildings, banks and corporations, Congress, the Pentagon, and at the center of it all, the White House. The USA uses its military power like the engine for its own economy and like a foreign policy tool. Year after year, private corporations make millions of dollars producing weapons that find their way to every corner of the planet, altering the lives and destinies of virtually every human being living in our times. Furthermore, there are thousands of nuclear weapons which are capable of sterilizing our planet many times over. These doomsday devices are in the hands of generals trained to have no regard for human life and are at the disposal of politicians brewed with racism, hate, and in some cases fanatical religious beliefs. Our planet's survival is in the hands of tyrants and generals. Defying the most powerful nation in human history, a small group of peace activists managed to maintain an anti-nuclear war vigil right across the street from the White House, literally giving up their lives to give peace a permanent presence at the heart of the military empire.
Well, I am in front of the White House maintaining anti-nuclear peace vigil, permanent since 1981, trying to communicate and educate people who come here from all over the world about the danger of the nuclear weapons.
MAD. M-A-D. The current military doctrine of mutual assured destruction makes sure that once the war has started, it won't stop until it erases all life from the planet.
And the only threat we got is the nuclear war. But I'm concerning to protect the planet. It's the only one we got. And it's for everybody in the world who lives under their space. Since everybody now having nuclear weapons, and those who don't have them, they buy them, and it's the fate of the earth.
During these times, we seem to have been living blindly in a permanent state of war, accepting the assassinations of innocent people with drones and bombs as the new normal. We are living the grim reality that General Dwight D. Eisenhower warned us about in 1961 during his farewell speech as U.S. President.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
General Eisenhower was referring to the powerful financial interests that surround the mega weapons industry developed around the Cold War. Since the beginning of the War on Terror, $7.6 trillion have been spent. According to James Kielkopf, a global food stamp program would cost little more than $1 to $2 billion a day to feed the world's 1 billion people near starvation, or about 1/145th of the gross world product. That's approximately $500 billion a year to feed every hungry person. Yet around the world, $1.7 trillion are spent on war, with the U.S. leading the way at $611 billion annually. Probably the best example of this is the F-35 fighter, which has cost more than $1.5 trillion. The cost of this plane alone could pay for the relief efforts of humanitarian crises such as the ones we've seen in Syria, Iraq, Haiti, Sudan, Yemen, and Palestine. It could fund the upgrading of our own country's infrastructure. It could feed every school student for the next 24 years, or you could even buy every homeless person a mansion. But instead, this country is becoming more and more indebted, developing yet another lethal killing machine. If you think about it, the money produced by this billion-dollar industry is not only for the mega profits of corporate stockholders and CEOs, but it also pays for thousands of jobs over many states where parts for the plane are made. These jobs provide for an important political component, which is one of the reasons why the U.S. society and military are so intertwined. Since 1981, Concepcion Picciotto, the original activist at the Peace Vigil, remained in Lafayette Park, across the street from the White House, as the closest neighbor to 5 American presidents. For rain or shine, humid or snow, sunny or stormy, feeling hungry, suffering abuse and violence, she overcame it all. Imagine what the presidents would have thought when they looked outside the windows and saw an elderly lady shivering in the snow, waving anti-nuclear war signs. Meanwhile, the arms industry paid millions of dollars to have a permanent lobby in the circle of power inside the White House.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
I don't know if sand can glow in the dark, but we're going to find out.
Kill them.
We are at war. We are at war. We are at war. War. And we were attacked. Where were we attacked? We were attacked. Terrorists who had attacked us.
We can go any place on the planet. No limits on time, geography, or means to destroy ISIL.
Would you be prepared to shoot down that Russian plane and risk war with Russia? Not only are we prepared to do it, I would do it.
and people have to have the responsibility to protect the planet. Right now we have a threat with the global warming, and a threat to nuclear war.
Her unshakable dedication and will to stay put, as if the world would depend on it, was her homage to the victims of the industrial war machine.
This is my book. I just wrote it, and I got it on the website, on this book.
In her book, Concepcion recalls her childhood in Madrid and her family striving in a conservative Spanish society under Franco, the one fascist regime that survived after World War II. Her grandfather was a judge who was killed by Franco for opposing his regime. After the death of her parents, she was raised by nuns. By the early 60s, Connie traveled to the U.S. and established herself in New York. In 1966, she married Gaetano Picciotto, an Italian man who put her through indescribable abuse. Picciotto beat her, stole from her, tore their adopted baby away from her, and would send her away to a psychiatric institute every time she stood up for her rights. One day, she managed to escape and start an open yet futile fight for what was hers. After enduring a decade of abuse and losing everything she had, she turned into an activist, fighting for her own rights to have a life in peace. In her books, she takes us back in time and introduces us to the man who would become her closest partner and who would co-create the Peace Vigil, William Thomas. Concepcion and William Thomas became a powerful team after they got arrested together while protesting their own grievances outside the White House. The Peace Vigil was born in the context of war veteran occupation of Lafayette Park, the Reagan Village, protesting for the many crimes of the military empire in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. While they didn't join the Reagan Village, Concepcion and Thomas constructed gigantic anti-nuclear signs. The fact that they focused the protest on their signs was the constitutional reason they were allowed to remain there all these years. By doing so, they were protected by the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. Without the signs, she would never have been allowed to stay in the park at night. In the summer of 1981, William Thomas built a tent-like structure for Concepcion to occupy and be able to remain protected from the elements while protesting around the clock. During the next 36 years, she focused on remaining there, next to her signs, not being able to sleep or going to the bathroom without someone relieving her, because when she left, the police will confiscate her signs and she would not be able to remain there until getting new signs. She met thousands of people, and she dealt with hundreds of other activists that converged at the vigil. Connie was clean from any vice and often complained in her writings about problems generated by activists dealing with drug addictions.
Police, arrested, beating, gassing. Yes. Police, no.
The abuse by police and intelligence agencies did not stop her. They would take turns not letting her sleep, threatening her with arrest if she did. She dealt with officers who would park a car sending the fumes right into her tent all night. While she was not able to walk more than 35 feet away from her signs or risk having them confiscated. She was an easy target for harassment by cops who brutalized her, throwing her in jail and confiscating the signs time and time again. Another page describes how she was crying for help, being chased and beaten by a man with a 2x4 stick, and the police looked on and laughed. "We don't defend you because we don't support you," they said. Showing an amazing display of courage, she picked herself up every time, standing next to her signs, again and again.
The police is corrupted. Police is very corrupted. The police are criminals in uniform. Only God, believe me. Only God. I have been in court even last week, and I had to the lawyers, to the court, to the judge. No, it's not justice, because they control. Justice is sold and buy in an open market.
She was abused by bullies. She recalled some Marines from nearby bases who assaulted her and beat her up at 3 a.m. every weekend for a few months back in 1984. That would repeat over and over for decades. Like a martyr for peace, she was publicly abused, choked with her scarf, and stabbed by pro-war and pro-Zionist fanatics.
They tried now to paralyze. They using some special gas that go into my veins. It's swollen them yeah. So it deprives me from walking. No, it's getting worse and worse for me.
One of the issues about which Connie was most vocal were the crimes by the State of Israel, a state that has received over $233.7 billion over the last 6 decades, despite ignoring UN resolutions and violating human rights on the regular basis.
And now the situation is worsening because Israel created a Palestinian Holocaust. Israel has arsenals of mass destruction weapons, nuclear weapons, and Israel is threatening to bomb Iran. If Iran will be bombed by Israel, which Iran does not have in bombs, it will be catastrophic for the entire planet. Why is allow Israel to have arsenals of these weapons and demanding and dictating other countries they cannot have them?
And it was precisely her vocal criticism of Israeli crimes in Palestine, the main source of trouble Concepcion had to face.
People all over the world are concerned, very concerned, and they supporting what I do. The only ones who are attacking me is the people from Israel who come in here. I had threats, spitting, beating, tried to choke me by throwing a Palestinian scarf over my neck and pulling down to choke me. This is the reaction of the Israelis.
Why have we not been able to get together as a nation?
And no one knowing whether someone might tighten their finger on the trigger.
For ourselves and for future generations, a new world order.
To threaten his neighbors or the world with nuclear arms.
September the 11th, 2001.
That the United States has taken lethal, targeted action
Concepcion Picciotto and her signs were a thorn at the very center of the neo-imperial power of our days.
Well, I talk to many people, yes, from all social levels, but maybe some of them. Yeah, I talk to people from other countries, like Pakistan, or people, yes, but nothing down. They know, they agree with me, they advise me to continue, but people are intimidating by this evil empire, and people cannot help me as much as they would like to, because they will get persecuted too.
A martyr at the footsteps of the most powerful mansion in the world. As she wanted to be remembered, Concepcion died on January 25, 2016, leaving behind her an irreplaceable void in the peace movement.